Here from another party leader, Sir Davey from the Liberal Democrats. Of course, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Just a snapshot, if you would, and I'm not going to ask you to spend a lot of time speaking about the other party leaders, but from what you've seen, maybe from last night or during the campaign, can you give me a one word about Rishi Sunak? What is the word you think you would use for him in this campaign?
Well, it's three words, actually: out of touch. I just don't think he sort of understands what people are going through.
OK, we're trying to keep this brief. Sir Keir Starmer?
Well, he's trying his best, but, I mean, I think he's not quite connecting with people yet. And what I think we need to do as politicians is really make sure we understand where people are at. I mean, I was just watching your show before, Isabel and Elizabeth, who'd lost their father, and it meant an awful lot to me because I lost my dad when I was 4 and my mum when I was 15. And seeing Scottish little soldiers get behind them and help the family was just fantastic. And I think people need to get over, as political leaders, that they sort of get where people are at, whether it's on the cost of living crisis, whether it's on the fact they can't get a GP. These are real things that affect people's lives. And I'm not sure when you saw that debate whether the political leaders in other parties sort of seem to understand that.
So I think a lot of people who are watching us this morning absolutely endorse what you said about those two young ladies who were here a moment ago. Absolutely. Trust. And this has become a very big theme in this election.
Yeah.
In amongst that argument, and a lot of things come back to that,
sure,
is the betting scandal.
Yeah.
Now, you have said that in 2010 that you placed a bet involving an election. And you've said that openly. You said it happened then, and it was about how many seats the Liberal Democrats would win. Right. You lost the bet. So you've said that. Would you now, given what's happening now and the noise around this story, would you place a bet in connection with an election?
Well, I think the law needs to be clarified on this. Liberal Democrats have called for a review of the regulations of gambling with respect to politics, because it's not clear what was really wrong. And where this scandal really broke, let's be clear, was some people in number 10 went into a room, were told the date of the general election, they went out of that room and they bet on something which they knew the outcome.
I'm going to stop you there because there's quite a lot in this equation that we don't know.
Okay,
so
fair enough,
we don't know that. What my question was to you is a fairly straightforward one, is that you did place a bet previously on an election outcome. Would you do that now? Has your opinion changed as to whether or not that is acceptable of you now as a party leader? Can you just address that?
Yeah, I'll be frank, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I'm not a betting person.
Would you do it now?
Well, in this election, I don't think I should. As a party leader, I don't think I should. But what I take from this whole thing, which I think is a scandal, you're right, we don't know exactly what happened, but the Gambling Commission are looking into it, so they're taking it very, very seriously.
OK, well, let's leave that there.
I think from that, we need to learn from this, because you point about trust. We need to rebuild trust in so many levels. And on this issue, I think the only way we'll do it is if we have a proper review by the Gambling Commission. And I will say to you, I will accept whatever recommendations they come up with.
Week to go before polling day, before voters go to the polls. How are you changing your tactics?
Well, we're
campaigning.
Well, we keep talking about issues that the Democrats have talked about.
How are you changing them? Because some tone, there's only one poll, and we by no means put all our eggs in one basket in one poll. One poll has suggested that the Lib Dems might be the largest second party over the Conservatives. That's only one poll. We don't put, we don't focus.
Nor do I.
Right, OK. However, with momentum shifting in some people's thoughts, are you changing your campaign strategy 1 week to go?
Well, in one way we are. Let me give you the example. I think the next month, when Parliament comes back, however it is shaped, there needs to be an emergency health and care budget. We in the Liberal Democrats have put health and care right at the centre of our manifesto. We're the ones making our top priority, the only party making our top priority. We've got a quite ambitious programme for more GPs, NHS dentists.
So is that budget new?
Yes, we haven't said that before.
So what's the emergency? Why is it suddenly an emergency now?
No, because we're coming, to your point about our campaign tactics, we're coming towards the end of the campaign, and people need to know what's going to happen after polling day. And I think the most important thing, literally next month, we need that budget, an emergency budget. And I think we're the only party calling for an emergency budget with health and care right at the centre. We can't wait, Naga.
Sorry, how's that related to you doing better in the campaign?
Well, I think we could have a lot of Liberal Democrat MPs in the next election. We could be a very strong voice.
More than you targeted?
Well, it seems to be going quite well. I'll be very frank with you. We're finding lots of people in our areas, in the home counties, where we're the challenges, the blue wall seats, where the challenges to the Conservatives, in the West Country, in rural Britain. We're finding Labour and Green people saying they know they can't win, so they're backing us. And something I've never seen before, this is really different this election, which goes to your point, lifelong Conservatives, people who families have always voted Conservative, saying they can't do it anymore, and they're looking to the Liberal Democrats. And I think that's where we're getting that momentum. And I want to say to them that in the next Parliament, they can be sure if they get a Liberal Democrat MP, they'll be championing an emergency health and care budget, because I don't think our NHS can wait a day longer.
Yeah, when you look at the health budget and you look at what the IFS, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, has taken a look at, and what you've promised. What isn't clear is, I think you've promised 8,000 doctors.
New GPs, yeah.
New GPs. What's not clear, can you clarify that? When you say new GPs, you mean fully qualified, 8,000 fully qualified GPs? So not assistants?
Yeah, fully qualified GPs.
And when will they come? Because it takes time to get those. And they're not in the system to have 8,000 qualified when this Parliament, next Parliament
It is
starts.
ambitious, but we've worked with health experts. It's going to take 4 to 5 years, with £1 billion a year invested. You can get some GPs, new GPs, quite quickly. This is the reason. It's quite shocking, actually. There are people coming out of medical school who want to work in a GP practice, but the GP practice can't afford to take them on. So you could get a boost.
And they're replacing them, some say, with physicians' assistants.
Yeah,
so will you change that?
Yeah, we would.
So there would be fewer physicians' assistants?
Well, in the
GP
meantime,
surgeries?
we've got to get the GPs in there in the first place. What I'm saying is, I want the GP surgeries to have the money to employ these medical students who are qualified to GPs, and they can't employ them at the moment. Naga, that's just wrong. And that's why we need an emergency budget. And of course we need to work on retaining GPs. Some GPs are leaving, they're retiring early. Some are moving to Australia. That's awful, where the taxpayer spent a lot of money and we're not having them in our communities, giving people the health care they need. So that's why we need an emergency budget.
You have been brought face to face during this campaign by people who do not like things that you personally have been involved in.
Yeah.
Your involvement in the post office inquiry, for example. I don't want to go back all the way through that track record. No, we don't need to do that now. But you will be aware people have question marks about you in connection with that. Equally well, student tuition fees. That is a cloud that hangs over the party. To what extent do you think, and you talked about the progress you're making, that has been, I don't know what the phrase would be, dealt with, answered? To what extent do you think you've done that?
Well, when we were in government, the things we achieved, we quadrupled renewable power, we did a lot on mental health, same-sex marriage and so on. But there are things that were difficult, and I lost my seat along with a lot of Liberal Democrat MPs in 2015. We were punished for things you're talking about. And I've reflected a long time on that. And I've taken 2 lessons from it. First of all, don't promise what you can't deliver. And that's why our manifesto is extremely well costed, and I think we can deliver on what we are promising this election. The second thing is rebuilding trust. What I've tried to do in my leadership over the last 4 years is talk to people, talk to communities about what their top concerns are. Not tell them what they should think, but listen to them. And they say it's the health service. They say it's care. They say it's the cost of living. They say it's their local environment. And we've built our pledges, our promises, our priorities, what would go in things like the emergency budget, around what people are most concerned about.
And then people look straight away to someone like the IFS, and they say a plague on all the parties, because you're all promising things you won't be able to deliver in practice in terms of your budgets. And that you are included in that criticism.
Well, I've got a huge respect for the IFS. I've worked with them over the years. I think most of the criticism is on the other parties, to be fair, but they have some criticism for us, that's right.
No, speaking about all 3 parties, David Phillips, head of local government finance, says there's a £4 billion hole in each of these plans, and he was referring to your party, the Conservatives and Labour.
Well, I'd be really happy to sit down with them, because we have the most ambitious plans. We've got a whole series of proposals to raise money from things like oil and gas companies, or the social media giants, or the banks, or the very rich billionaires. So we're raising about £26 billion from those corporate sectors.
And the IFS...
And no other party is saying that.
And the IFS has said that you focused on these big institutions, and the quote is, many of these tax rises are intended to look victimless, but of course they are not, because there is a trilemma. And you know what this is. 3 points. Extra money needs to be found from either existing government budgets, don't know where that is, council budgets, or from topping up spending by topping up taxes or borrowing more money.
Well, we don't want to tax ordinary people. They've been taxed far too much already. What we are focusing on these sectors...
Who are the unordinary people that you will tax?
Well, the billionaires. So let me take you through that tax programme. Capital gains tax is only paid by 0.9% of the population, the very richest. And amongst those people, at 0.1%, the billionaires, they're paying a lower tax in terms of capital gains tax on the income they're getting in than many people pay on their earnings. Now, I think that's wrong. I don't think it's fair, and I want to ask those very rich people to pay more in capital gains tax.
The reality check that you'll be well aware of, and this is referenced in many people who've studied this, is that a lot of people say that. Political parties say,
no one else is saying that, to be honest.
We'll go for those who earn the most, they will pay more. And rarely, if ever, does that end up with a genuine dividend. Does it actually produce more money for your budgets?
Well, I believe it will do, and one of the reasons why I think our manifesto is well costed is we've taken account of how people might change their behaviour. So we've been very cautious in our estimates. Indeed, we've been really cautious. Let me give you one example. We've put a spending programme for free personal care, so people in the social care sector, people can get care they need. That costs £3.7 billion, and we're going to pay for it by reversing the tax cuts the Conservatives have given to the big banks. What the Institute of Public Policy Research, a think tank, say is that would save the NHS by 2031 £3.1 billion. We haven't included that in our costings. So we've been super cautious, and I think that's the right thing to do. If you're going to rebuild trust, show you've got promises that you can deliver on. I'm genuinely proud of the Liberal Democrats' campaign on NHS and social care. I think it is changing the debate, and what I want by calling for an emergency budget next month is to start the work.
Which
we've got to start the work.
We have spoken about at the start of the interview. Thank you so much, Sir Ed Davey, leader of the Liberal Democrats. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Sir Ed Davey, for your information, you know this already, you're going on to join Nikki Campbell to answer your questions from 9 o'clock this morning.